I was labeled infertile by my mother-in-law, and my husband supported her in painting me in a negative light, which ultimately led to my decision to divorce him. I then married his cousin and became a mother to twins. I never imagined I would be sharing my life story on Reddit, but here I am, desperately seeking advice from strangers on the internet. I'm a 35-year-old woman, and my life has turned into a soap opera that I never signed up for. Let me start from the beginning. I met my husband, Nathan, during our sophomore year of college. We were both studying business and ended up in the same group project for our marketing class. Nathan was a whirlwind of energy and ambition. He had his entire life planned out: graduate with honors, land a job at a top firm, climb the corporate ladder, and eventually start his own company. I was more of a go-with-the-flow kind of girl, but his drive inspired me. We started dating a few months later, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had direction. Nathan pushed me to be better and to want more for myself. We graduated together, both landing decent entry-level jobs at competing firms. Those first few years were tough: long hours, tight budgets, and barely any time together, but we made it work. 3 years into our relationship, he proposed. I had been saving up for months to buy the perfect ring and had this whole romantic evening planned: a fancy dinner, a walk in the park where we had our first kiss, and then popping the question under the stars. But life had other plans. The day I was going to propose, Nathan called me in tears. He had been passed over for a promotion he had been working towards for months. He was devastated, questioning his career choices and his worth. I scrapped my elaborate plan and instead showed up at his apartment with his favorite takeout and a bottle of wine. As we sat on his tiny balcony, commiserating about the unfairness of corporate life, I realized there would never be a more perfect moment. He pulled out the ring and asked me to marry him right there, both of us in our work clothes surrounded by empty takeout containers. I said yes, and for a moment, everything was perfect. Then came the wedding planning, and with it, my first real encounter with Linda, Nathan's mother. I had met Linda a few times before, but always in group settings where she was on her best behavior. Now, faced with planning her only son's wedding, Linda's true colors came out. Nothing was ever good enough: the venue was too small, the food too exotic, the music too modern. She criticized every decision we made, from the color of the tablecloths to the style of my dress. Nathan tried to mediate, but it was clear he was struggling to stand up to his mother. The breaking point came when Linda insisted we invite Nathan's ex-girlfriend, Jessica. Apparently, Jessica's parents were old family friends, and it would be rude not to include them. I put my foot down, and to my surprise, Nathan backed me up. It was the first time I saw him really stand up to his mother, and I was proud of him. The wedding itself was beautiful, despite Linda's best efforts to micromanage every detail. Nathan was radiant, and as we exchanged our vows, I truly believed we could handle anything life threw at us. The first few years of our marriage were good. We both advanced in our careers, bought a small house in the suburbs, and started talking about having kids. Nathan wanted to wait until we were more financially stable, which I understood. We were doing well, but kids are expensive, and Nathan had big plans for his career. Around our 5th wedding anniversary, I started feeling ready for motherhood. My sister had just had her second child, and seeing her with her kids awakened something in me. I broached the subject with Nathan, but he was hesitant. He was up for a big promotion and didn't want to jeopardize it with my pregnancy. I tried to be patient, but as another year passed, I couldn't help feeling like our life was on hold. We had endless discussions about the right time to have a baby, but there was always another reason to wait: a big project at work, a planned vacation, a possible job change. Finally, 2 years ago, Nathan agreed it was time. We were both excited, imagining nursery colors and debating baby names. But as months passed with no positive pregnancy test, our excitement turned to worry. After a year of trying, we decided to see a fertility specialist. The doctor suggested we both get tested to rule out any issues. I went for my tests right away, eager to get answers. My results came back normal, which was a relief but also added to the pressure on Nathan. However, he kept putting off his appointments. At first, it was understandable: he had a big presentation at work. Then he caught I stood up and told everyone at the table that I wasn't the problem. My fertility tests had come back normal. It was Nathan who hadn't even bothered to get tested yet. The aftermath was ugly. Nathan was furious with me for betraying his trust, and Linda was on the warpath, calling me every name in the book. I left the house and spent the night in a hotel, trying to figure out where we went wrong. When I got home the next day, Nathan was still angry. He accused me of humiliating him in front of his family. I tried to explain that I couldn't stand being blamed and shamed for something that wasn't my fault, but he wouldn't listen. Things have been tense ever since. Nathan still refuses to get tested, and now he's giving me the cold shoulder. Linda has been calling and texting nonstop, demanding that I apologize to both Nathan and her. I've blocked her number, but she just keeps finding new ways to harass me. I don't know what to do. I love Nathan, but I'm starting to wonder if we want the same things in life. I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying not to upset him or incur Linda's wrath. To make matters more complicated, Nathan's cousin, Liam, reached out to me yesterday. Liam and I have always gotten along well. He's a few years younger than us and has always been the black sheep of the family, choosing to become a teacher instead of going into the family business like Nathan did. Liam said he overheard what happened at Thanksgiving and wanted to check if I was okay. We ended up talking for hours. It was nice to have someone on my side for once, someone who understood how overbearing Linda could be. Now I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to fight for my marriage, to try and get Nathan to see how toxic his relationship with his mother is. But another part of me wonders if it's time to cut my losses. I'm 35 years old, and I want to be a mother. I don't want to wake up at 45, bitter and childless, resenting Nathan for robbing me of the chance to have a family. I never thought I'd be in this position. Any advice would be appreciated. Am I the A** hole for defending myself? Should I have just kept quiet and let Linda continue to berate me? How do I get Nathan to see that his mother's behavior is destroying our marriage? Update: it's been a month since my original post, and to say a lot has happened would be an understatement. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. Your comments really helped me gain some perspective on my situation. After reading through your responses, I realized I needed to have a serious conversation with Nathan. I couldn't keep living in this limbo with unspoken tensions and resentments building between us. I decided to take a day off work and asked Nathan to do the same. I wanted us to have time to really talk without any distractions. That morning, I made Nathan's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. It was something I used to do every Sunday when we first got married, but somewhere along the line, we had stopped making time for those little gestures. As we sat at our kitchen table, the familiar smell of pancakes in the air, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe we could find our way back to each other. I started by apologizing for my outburst at Thanksgiving. I explained that while I regretted the way I handled it, I couldn't apologize for the feelings behind it. I told Nathan how hurt I was by his silence, how I felt unsupported and blamed for something that wasn't my fault. To my surprise, Nathan broke down. Through his tears, he confessed that he had actually gotten tested months ago and found out he had some fertility issues. He was afraid to tell me because he thought I might leave him. He had been carrying this secret for months, letting me think he was just procrastinating on the tests. I was shocked and hurt that he kept this from me, but I tried to be understanding. I asked him why he thought I would leave him over this, and his answer broke my heart. He said that growing up, his mother always emphasized that a man's worth was tied to his ability to give children. Linda had drilled into Nathan's head that if he couldn't give his wife children, she would inevitably leave him for someone who could. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. So many of Nathan's actions over the past year suddenly made sense: his reluctance to get tested, his defensiveness whenever I brought up kids, his silence in the face of his mother's attacks on me. It all stemmed from this deep-seated fear that he wasn't man enough. We spent hours talking that day, really opening up to each other in a way we hadn't in years. We agreed to start couples counseling to work on our communication and to help Nathan work through some of the damaging beliefs his mother had, trying to convince him that he wasn't ready for fatherhood. He said she had instilled so much fear in him about being a man and a provider that he couldn't see a way forward with me. I felt my heart shatter as he spoke, realizing that the very person I had been fighting against was the one who had shaped his fears and insecurities. I tried to reason with him, to remind him of the love we had built together, the dreams we had shared. I told him that we could work through this, that we could find a way to navigate the challenges together. But Nathan was resolute. He said he needed to prioritize his own mental health and that staying in a marriage where he felt trapped would only lead to resentment. I felt helpless as he explained that he believed it was better for both of us to part ways now rather than prolong the inevitable pain. After that meeting, I felt like I was in a fog. I had lost the person I thought I would spend my life with, and the weight of that realization was crushing. I went home and cried for hours, feeling the loss of not just my husband but the future I had envisioned for us. I knew I had to tell Liam what had happened, as he had been my rock during this tumultuous time. When I called him, he immediately came over, and I poured out my heart to him. He listened patiently, offering comfort and understanding, reminding me that I deserved to be with someone who wanted the same things in life. As the days turned into weeks, I began to accept the reality of my situation. I started focusing on myself, rediscovering the things I loved before Nathan and I got married. I took up painting again, something I had abandoned in the chaos of our relationship. I also began to explore the idea of motherhood on my own terms, researching adoption and other avenues to become a parent. It was a painful journey, but I felt a sense of empowerment in taking control of my future. Meanwhile, Nathan had moved back in with his parents, and Linda continued her relentless campaign against me. She spread rumors about our marriage, painting me as the villain who had driven her son away. I tried to ignore her, but it was hard not to feel the sting of her words. I knew I had to protect myself, so I consulted with a lawyer about the possibility of a divorce. I wanted to ensure that I was prepared for whatever came next. One evening, as I was sitting in my living room, I received a text from Nathan. He wanted to meet again, this time to discuss the logistics of our separation. I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. I agreed to meet him at a nearby park, hoping that we could have a civil conversation. When I arrived, Nathan looked more relaxed than I had seen him in a while. We sat on a bench, and he began to explain his thoughts on how we could handle the separation amicably. As we talked, I realized that despite the pain, there was still a part of me that cared deeply for him. I wanted him to find happiness, even if it wasn't with me. We discussed the practicalities of dividing our assets and how we would handle the logistics of our lives moving forward. It was a bittersweet conversation, filled with moments of nostalgia and sadness, but also a sense of relief that we were finally addressing the reality of our situation. Afterward, I felt a sense of closure that I hadn't anticipated. I knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but I was ready to face it. I had learned so much about myself during this process, and I was determined to create a life that aligned with my dreams of motherhood and happiness. I reached out to friends and family, seeking their support as I navigated this new chapter in my life. As I moved forward, I kept reminding myself that I was worthy of love and happiness, and that I could still build a fulfilling life, even if it looked different than I had originally envisioned. I was ready to embrace the unknown, to take the steps necessary to create the future I desired, and to find peace within myself. The journey ahead would be mine to shape, and I was determined to make it a beautiful one. Apparently, Linda had convinced Nathan that I was emotionally abusive and that he deserved better. Nathan actually apologized for letting me mistreat him for so long, as if he were parroting Linda's words. I couldn't recognize the man I had married. Nathan handed me divorce papers that were already signed, saying his lawyer would be in touch about dividing our assets. Then he got up and left, leaving me sitting there with a cold coffee and the ruins of my marriage. The next few weeks were a blur. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the pain. I stopped answering calls from Nathan's family members, tired of defending myself against Linda's lies. My own family was supportive, but they lived across the country and couldn't offer much practical help. Liam was there for me through it all. He would come over with takeout, force me to go for walks, and just sit with me when I needed company. He understood the family dynamics in a way no one else did, and it was comforting to talk to someone who knew exactly how manipulative Linda could be. As I spent more time with Liam, I started to see him in a different light. He was kind, supportive, and seemed to understand me in a way Nathan never had. I found myself looking forward to our time together, feeling lighter and happier in his presence. One night, after a few too many beers, Liam confessed that he had feelings for me for years. He said he never acted on them out of respect for Nathan, but now that we were getting divorced, he couldn't keep it in anymore. I was conflicted. Part of me felt like it was too soon and that I should be grieving my marriage, but another part recognized that Liam made me happier than I had been in a long time. We agreed to take things slow, to give ourselves time to figure out if this was real or just a reaction to everything that had happened. We started dating quietly. I know it's not conventional to date your soon-to-be ex-husband's cousin, but it felt right. Liam understood my pain and my history in a way no one else could. He encouraged me to keep going to therapy to work through my feelings about the divorce and my fears about starting a new relationship. Of course, when Nathan and Linda found out, all hell broke loose. Linda started spreading rumors about me and the family, saying I had been cheating on Nathan with Liam all along. Some family members who had previously been sympathetic to me now turned cold, believing Linda's lies. Nathan was hurt and angry, accusing me of moving on too quickly. The irony of Nathan being upset about me moving on when he was the one who left and filed for divorce wasn't lost on me, but I was done letting Linda and Nathan control my life and my happiness. I know this update might make me sound like the bad guy, but I'm finally putting myself first. Liam and I are happy, and we're taking things one day at a time. The divorce is moving forward, and while it's painful, I'm actually feeling optimistic about the future for the first time in a long time. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but maybe it's the life I need. I'm learning to trust my own feelings and needs rather than constantly trying to appease others. It's a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Update: it's been a year since my last update, and what a year it's been. I never could have predicted where life would take me, but I'm happier now than I've been in a long time. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago. It wasn't easy. Linda tried to contest it, claiming I had been unfaithful throughout the marriage. Thankfully, my lawyer was able to disprove these allegations, and the judge saw through Linda's attempts to manipulate the proceedings. In the end, we settled on a fair division of assets, and I was able to keep the house. Liam and I are still together, and our relationship has only grown stronger. We moved in together 4 months ago, and it's been amazing. He understands me in a way Nathan never did, and we communicate openly about everything. We've had our challenges, of course. Blending our lives hasn't always been smooth sailing, but we face everything as a team. The biggest news, though, is that I am pregnant with twins. I found out a couple of months ago, and we're over the moon. It's ironic considering all the fertility struggles with Nathan, but I guess life has a way of surprising you. We weren't actively trying, but we weren't preventing it either. When I saw the positive test, I felt a mix of joy, excitement, and fear that I've never experienced before. We're converting the spare room into a nursery, and Liam's been reading every parenting book he can get his hands on. I'm nervous about becoming a mother, especially to twins, but I'm also excited. Liam's calm confidence is reassuring. He keeps reminding me that we'll figure it out together.